Hi, welcome to Cash Show, the weekly show where we converse with amazing folks in DFIR, and today I'm so excited to be joined by Kevin Pagano. Kevin's a digital forensic analyst, researcher, blogger, and contributor to the open source community. He currently is a digital forensic analyst at Siemens Health and Ears. Prior to his work at Siemens, he was an e-discovery analyst for System 1, working as a contractor doing forensic analysis for the Hershey Company. Kevin has also worked as an information security and digital forensics intern at the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Kevin recently earned his graduate certificate in digital forensics from Champlain College and holds a Bachelor of Science in computer forensics from Bloomsburg University of Pennsylvania. Kevin's a member of the GIAC Advisory Board and holds several certifications, including the GIAC Advanced Smartphone Forensics, GISF, GIAC Certified Forensics Examiner, GCFE, Certified Celebrate Physical Analyst, CCPA, and many more. Kevin is a regular competitor in the digital forensic CTF circuit. He has won more digital forensic CTFs than anyone I've met, including first place in the Magnet User Summit DFIR CTF 2019, the Magnet Virtual Summit DFIR CTF 2021, the Magnet Weekly CTF 2020, the Wi-Fighter Challenge V3 CTF, the Belkasoft Europe 2021 CTF, the Bloomcom Capture the Flag. He additionally is a SANS DFIR Net Wars champion and has earned a Lethal Forensicator coin. Kevin has also 4 times won the Hacking Exposed Computer Forensics HECF blog's Sunday Fun Day. Kevin's been recognized as a 2019 Forensic Forecaster Newcomer of the Year nominee and was the winner of the Magnet Forensics Custom Artifact Challenge, creating 25 artifacts in a 3-month period. He regularly shares his research on his blog Stark Forensics. It's Stark 4 and 6, and has had his Parsing Google's Now Playing History on Pixel Devices published on DFIR Review. He also has created an amazing Start.me page for forensics, start.me/forensics. Really, it has every resource you could want for forensics right there a click away, from RSS feeds and TikToks to videos to tools, everything you can imagine. Kevin also contributes to multiple open source projects, including the iOS Logs Events and plist Parser, iLeap, the Android Logs Events and Protobuf Parser, ALEAP, and the Kroll Artifact Parser and Extractor, CABE. Kevin is an incredible contributor to our community. It is so much fun to watch him participate in CTF challenges, and more importantly, read his solves and learn how he was able to understand, manipulate, and solve the challenges. I miss seeing Kevin at a variety of conferences where he may be known to wrangle dinosaurs for DFIR Fit challenges and participate in Hackeroki. If you need a recommendation for a craft beer or a specific brand of potato chips, be sure to ask Kevin. He probably knows best. And with that, hi, Kevin.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for that amazing intro.
You're amazing.
Thanks for having me.
So excited to have you here. You know, if there's somebody who anyone knows is the most winningest person in DFIR CTF current era, it is you, much to probably Oleg's and Evandrix's and Atropos Forensics and Adam Harrison's and Eric Quam's, who are also amazing and do incredibly well in the CTFs, but much to their chagrin. And one of the things I love is that you keep playing under a different name. And sometimes I'm the author of the CTF, so I'm seeing you play on the backboard, knowing who you are, and watching other people going, who is that? And why isn't Kevin playing? Who's Kevin? And not putting it together is like the funnest thing.
That makes me laugh more than anything, just because, you know, I always have to like try to scramble to find a new name each time too. And so I'm always trying to think of something, you know, quirky or, you know, something that I've done in the past or can relate to of sorts. But that's always a fun challenge in itself.
Right. Like that's a whole new challenge that everybody who's watching has to try to solve. Exactly. I like that. A little meta there. So doing all these things and getting to where you are, can you share a little bit about your journey, how you got into forensics?
Yeah, sure. You know, I always had an interest in computers growing up. I always liked enjoying playing video games and things on the computer. When I got to high school, we didn't have too many computer style courses. A lot of them were geared towards, you know, being able to use Microsoft Word, Excel, all the Office products. I think I had another class that was sort of geared around creating a web page. So very simple HTML style things. I even took some CAD classes, the drawing.
Computer-aided design.
Yeah. I even had some of those just so I could be around computers in more classes, because I always had a niche for that. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do in college, so I was thinking maybe I wanted to do web page design or even video game programming or something. So I was looking around, and I kind of stumbled on Bloomsburg, University of Pennsylvania, and I decided that one because they had a really good computer science program, and I knew a few other people that were going when I was graduating as well, so it made that choice a little bit easier. So when I got to Bloomsburg, first semester, I had to take a Java class for first semester, and I was terrible at it. I think I ended up getting a C- or a C+ in it or something, but I was
a C+ is a different language. No, I'm just sorry.
I was just really bad at Java programming, and I was like, maybe this isn't really the field for me. And so happened that they actually had a computer forensics program. I was like, well, this sounds kind of cool. CSI was like the big thing on TV, and crime scene investigations and whatnot. And it said, well, maybe I can try to switch to that. So second semester, I had to take another Java course, the second course, and I think I failed the first test. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. So that same day, I asked for a change of major and get a new bunch of courses. So I ended up switching that same day to computer forensics and haven't looked back since. I graduated with a degree and pretty good GPA. Then after that, I ended up getting an internship with the state of Pennsylvania. A friend of mine actually referred me to it because he wasn't taking it. So I was looking for anything I could get out of college. I unfortunately didn't network enough to get a job right before graduation. So I took that, and that worked for about 4 months, but then I didn't find work for 6 or 7 months then.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But then,
real.
yeah, so it was trying times, interviewing everywhere I could. Nothing was sticking. And so I was talking to my mom. She worked at the Hershey company in their employee store, and she said, "Oh, I met another Bloomsburg graduate the other day. He came into the store, and I was chatting with him, and he said, 'Oh, my son just graduated, and he's looking for a job.' And so he said, 'Well, send me his resume, and we'll see if I can, hand it over to someone else.' And so I think I got a call the next week from my former managers, and they said, 'We want to bring you in. We have some data intake for e-discovery work that we think you would be a great fit for, and we don't really have a lot of people with forensics backgrounds, so you could definitely help with e-discovery, working with the law department, and also doing investigations on the side.' So I worked as a contractor for Hershey for I think 2.5 years, just about, learning the ropes of everything and anything I could get my hands on, because it was my first job out of college. So that worked out well. And then I had found another opportunity to get a full-time position at Siemens, and that came up doing e-discovery work as well. But it included all the benefits and things that I wasn't getting from Hershey at the time. So I jumped on that one, and I've been at Siemens ever since. Been there for a little more than 5 years now. I did e-discovery work for about 4 years, and just recently transitioned out of doing e-discovery this last summer, and now I'm a full-time digital forensics analyst.
Wow, there's so many things in there that I want to jump into that are really cool. So you are in that arena that I like to call that first crop of folks who went directly into a digital forensics program. So like you and Heather, I'm not you and Heather, you and Tara Melton, Sarah Sturgeon, a lot of you actually went to Bloomsburg because you graduated right before, around the time Champlain started graduating people also in those early bachelor's programs for digital forensics. So I think that that's really cool. And I love the fact that you shared about that struggle, because there are a lot of folks who hit that wall when they first get out. And you really stress something important, which is doing the networking while you're in school, so that when you get out, you're already getting out with an opportunity. I think that's important for folks to remember who are going through that process and are like, oh my gosh, I love digital forensics. I'm going to go to Champlain, or I'm going to go to Bloomsburg, or I'm going to go to DeSales, or there's so many schools now that have programs in digital forensics, University of New Haven, et cetera. But you really need to be working on building those relationships and getting that job while you're in, or you're going to have that struggle of numbers where you're just applying and applying and applying for months. And yay, mom for speaking up and making the connection.
I mean, awesome. I can't give her enough credit, to be honest. And then,
I love that. So it's just a really, really great journey. And I'd say something else that's really important is I sometimes people reach out to me, and I'm sure you get the same, and they're like, well, there's this opportunity, but I really want to be doing incident response, and it's a SOC role, or I really want to be doing incident response, and it's an e-discovery role. E-discovery and SOC jobs can lead to forensics jobs if you hustle. And I remember we've had conversations, and you stuck with it and made it happen, right? You were getting investigations from time to time, and now you're in that role.
Yeah, I mean, part of the hard thing is just getting your foot in the door more than anything. And that's kind of why I took the opportunities that I did, just to get in and then see where things go. And they've really, helped me in my career, just taking that position. Might not want to do it all the time, but it has work to be done. And I think that's one of the things I can really say is, I benefited from that, just trying to learn on the side as well as doing my full-time job there, and just growing as much as I can outside my job.
Well, yeah, nobody would doubt, obviously, with all the CTFs you've won, the blog posts you put out, the contributions to the open source community and digital forensics, that you're a skilled examiner. But what's really, really, I think, inspiring for people to know is that there was a period where you were not yet working as a digital forensic analyst, but you were, in your spare time, producing and contributing to the body of work used by examiners in the field. And that it really helped position you to be able to migrate into a digital forensics role. And I think it's a really good reminder to folks that you can make your opportunities, because you made it, right? Like you are a very, I made my opportunities work for me. And I love that about what you've done. So speaking of which, lots of things I want to talk about. A-Leap, I-Leap modules, a lot of your mobile research, the CTFs. Let's start with the CTFs, because that was like really recent, and you just wrote a bunch of blog posts covering each of the elements from the MVS CTF 2021 CTF. And for anyone who doesn't know, one of the reasons I'm so excited to talk to you about this is I'm one of the co-authors of the CTF, along with the amazing students in the Champlain Digital Forensics Association. Are you okay if I give them a little shout out right now?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
So, Maddie Brumbelow, Jordan Kimball, Dylan Navarro, Victor Griswold, and Haley Ferrio. Thank you so much. It was such a blast working with you over, 6-7 months to build that CTF and then deliver it. And I miss working with you guys. It was so great. Anybody out there looking to hire top talent out of school? Victor and Maddie are already hired. They just graduated, but those other three, they're up and coming graduates from Champlain. Seriously, all of them were excellent to work with and all really understand deep forensics. Okay, enough about that.
I do want to say that I am intrigued by how the creation process is, because it does take time to generate that data. I know firsthand from doing some of the testing I've done, and it's amazing that how you guys put it all together. And then tie in the different, machines and different types of evidence to each other too.
Kevin, the reason I got interested in writing CTFs was after playing the DEF CON for CTFs where I placed. I think you might have just invited yourself to work on a CTF creation with me. Would you be interested? This is, you gotta realize, do you know how many times I get people involved in projects who are guests and I'm like, let's do it. So yeah, so you're gonna help me build a CTF. We're gonna do something cool. You in?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Yes. It's always fun to have people who play CTF. I mean, that's why I like writing them now, right? Like I've played a whole bunch and I like writing them because I think, yeah, it's fun. Okay, what's your favorite CTF question you've done so far? If anybody wants to read the write-ups, they're on starkforensics.com. I'll make sure to drop that in the YouTube right now. But
out of all the CTFs I've done?
All the CTFs you've done, what's your favorite thing that you've seen? Like maybe it's a crazy piece of evidence. Maybe it's a crazy question. What was like the coolest, most fun thing?
I've seen some, I'm trying to think now.
That's a hard question.
Some of the ones from the 2019 Magnet Summit were interesting.
Oh, that was the one with the auto dialer. So
yes,
that one was co-written. I co-wrote that with David Cowan and Matt Sayer.
Yep.
The three of us got together. That was my first. I wanted to build with them a CTF after having done the DEF CON for CTFs they built. And Matt Sayer wrote malware for that. That wasn't. We based it. Do you know what it was based on? Of course you do, right?
Was it The Simpsons? I think
it was Simpsons. Yeah, the first two we did were based on The Simpsons, as were the DEF CON CTFs that they built. I got to play the part of Selma Bouvier, which was really, really fun. Take that as you may, audience. But that was a fun one to write because you have no idea how much effort went into that one. So that was cool.
Questions on that one that were very difficult, that were very tough, especially around that executable and some of the malware type stuff.
So
it's not the stuff that I usually look at either.
So Matt Sayer built all the so that was a cool CTF because I think the evidence on that was a Windows image, an acquisition from a Windows, an Android image because I definitely did an Android device. And did we give you memory that year? I don't remember. I think it was just those two pieces. I think it was just those two pieces. And the scenario was about Selma Bouvier and some things she was doing at the company. She was being encouraged to do some illegal things. The images are out there if you want to play, as are the write-ups on how to solve it. But Matt Sayer did this amazing job writing the auto dialer AT500 software from the episode with the auto dialer when Homer thinks he's going to make all this money by doing robocalls. And so he built that as malware, which was really, really cool. And one of the questions in there, you had to get the next phone number that was going to be dialed by the malware. I thought that was the coolest question.
I think one of them was like, how many numbers did it dial or something too, like total? And there was like, it was built in to like 10,000 or something in the actual code somewhere.
So you had to, you had to like reverse engineer the malware that Matt built. And then I know for the phone, because I built the mobile side of that, and I think it was like really the first like mobile forensics portion of a CTF that was out there in the community. And I did some a-hole things when I built that, to be honest. Number one, I took it to Universal Studios and took all these pictures of things in Simpsons World. Like I made my family, but planned a vacation in order to plant evidence around the Simpsons.
It was very meta.
It was very meta. Because I had pictures of like the Bumblebee taco menu, like in the Simpsons, like as pictures in the evidence. But then the other cool thing I did was I played some crazy time zone tricks where I took the phone and purposely created data in New Zealand, didn't talk publicly about the fact that I was in New Zealand, and then also went to Sydney on the same day, and it's a 3-hour time zone difference, and then had some time zone questions, and purposely did it in this period, like between the southern and the northern hemisphere. I created that data in the 2-week period where one half of the world switches from daylight to not daylight and the other half doesn't. And those time zone questions were crazy, crazy hard. And people were trying to OSINT where I was, and they thought I was in Sydney that day. And I had started out in New Zealand. I don't remember.
I forget who it was. Someone was looking at your like Twitter feed to see where you were traveling, just to
So
try
it
to
was,
like
it was Aaron Sparling.
Okay, it was Aaron.
Whose handle on Twitter is OSINT LabWorks. So not surprising. And he got the question wrong and argued with me. Jessica, I know you created this evidence and I have proof that you were in Sydney that day. And I'm like, yeah, I planted that. And he's like, you planted that 6 months ago? Yeah. so yeah, we're evil. Like, I planned family trips and work trips around creating evidence. It was so much fun though. That was a good CTF. I'm glad that was one of your favorites.
That was one of the most nerve-wracking too, because of the hiding the board for the last 15 minutes. I know me and Jonathan and I think Santiago were all battling at the very end.
That was the winning crew with Santiago Ayala. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Santiago. My apologies if I didn't. Jonathan Rajewski, and you. And we were watching it on the back end. And I'll tell you, there was definitely some watching the scoreboard, which again is really, really fun when you wrote a CTF. It's a different element. Like, it is very intense for those of us who wrote the CTF also. Because every time we see a wrong answer, we're validating that it isn't an alternative right answer. So we have to test every wrong answer, which is nerve-wracking. And sometimes we work and you're like, oh crap, did I get that wrong? Even though we do verification and validation and everything else before we put the CTF out. But that was a different one because that was my last in-person one we ran. So there were only, it was only the people in the room. And I'm excited. I don't know. What do you think's the difference between doing them like live in person and like on your own in your house?
I mean, you get a feel in person of, what your other competitors are also doing. So, they're getting up, doing stretches or, walking around because they're like racking their brain trying to figure out what the questions can be. And you can just kind of also pick on them, yell at them, little nudges or something here and there. I think that's kind of fun, but I think also the audio commentary on YouTube and doing the virtual ones gives a little bit of that too, as they're seeing the board change and people commenting in the chat and whatnot.
So one of the fun things I like to do both at like the Magnet CTF or even at Net Wars is I like walking around the back of the room and seeing the screens and seeing what tools and methods people are using to try to solve questions. Because especially when you're the CTF author, you know the questions and you can figure out what they're trying to solve and how they're going about it. And the favorite part to me is figuring out how people's brains work. But now we don't get that, but we get the write-ups. So thank you for your write-ups. You just released all of your write-ups from the most recent CTF, the MVS 2021 CTF. By the way, I'll say one thing about CTFs. There's a really big difference between the way that we write a question for a weekly CTF with one question that's supposed to take you a week and a CTF with 50 questions or so that's supposed to take you 3 hours. So very different styles. So thank you so much for your write-ups. And for people who are listening, go play the CTF. The board is down. You can see the questions in the write-up. So I would go check out Kevin's write-ups and try to see if you can solve them. I have asked CFREDs to post the images. They're not posted yet.
I can also, I have the list of questions too. I'm sure obviously you do too. But if people want them, feel free to reach out. I have a Google sheet. I actually shared it with someone the other day.
Actually, I should probably just post them with a link to the evidence. I should probably just do that as the blog. I'll do that. I might have done that before this airs, or I might be doing it and trying to get it posted. So there's that. So you've also been blogging and creating modules for all of these things for ALEAP and iLeap, some custom artifacts. What inspires and where do you find the things that you create to the open source community? Does it come directly from your casework or somewhere else?
Most of it's actually not even involved with the casework as much. I just enjoy looking at mobile phones just because I think that's really what everyone's going to now these days. That's where a majority of your evidence is going to be. And the evidence is different because each application is different. And not all the tools obviously these days can't keep up with how many updates of applications are out there, and how database files are changing here and there. So I think part of the fun and challenge of it is pulling down images from Josh Hickman and looking at.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes, thank you, Josh. Pulling down those images and seeing what isn't being parsed by tools at the moment, and what can I contribute back to the community in case people are seeing these.
For sure.
And also it helps validate commercial tools as well.
Absolutely.
Just comparing the results back and forth. Even adding parsers that are already done in commercial tools to free tools, just to make sure that the free tools can parse them too, is critical.
So it's critical not just for researchers or people who only have access to free tools. It's critical for that verification and validation. And when something is written differently by two authors and comes to the same result, it helps provide that assurance that the data is correct. And I completely love that. And then people can also dig into the code and see how it was parsed. Do you ever write modules because of things that you see in some of all these CTFs that you play?
All the time. I mean, that's the big thing with the CTFs is it's free evidence files. There's all sorts of good stuff that you can pull from them. That Chick-fil-A applications.
Thank you, Dylan Navarro. That was his contribution there.
But there's all sort of apps that are being used in these CTF challenges that tools aren't parsing, or not looking at, with especially with these new evidence such as Chromebooks or Google Takeout.
So I mean, honestly, as I'm biased as a CTF author, that I intentionally pick evidence that, one, I know doesn't exist in the community so people can have access to images. I see it. There weren't Gray-Key full file system images that are available to the community. There weren't Chromebook images wildly available to the community. There aren't a lot of people can make their own takeout. So I'm not going to, there weren't Mac remote collection images available to the community. So like a lot of that is intentional to create that data for the community. But I will tell you, one of the fun things as a CTF creator is intentionally finding things that aren't parsed and supported by commercial tools so that they can be discovered and be parsed and be supported in the open source community. Like, it's part of the intention. So it's so exciting for me to see you do that and give it back. And so many other people, so many amazing folks writing great blog posts and creating amazing artifacts on things. Like, it is so exciting to me. So how do you prepare? What is the secret? Like, if people want to win all of these prizes and all of this notoriety, what is your secret to playing CTFs?
I mean, at least with this last magnet one, you gave plenty of hints. So just taking as much hints as you can, and stuff that you don't know about. I mean, I don't have access to Gray-Key images because I'm in corporate. Right. So I have no idea, looking at parsing those keychains. And that's something, I learned just playing through that one. Some of the other things I obviously did is, index all your evidence into whatever tool you like, or do it in multiple tools, just so you have everything parsed ahead of time, ready to dig through. I think with this last virtual summit, I dug through, a lot of the encrypted stuff. I found a lot of those answers ahead of time. So when the time came, I could just plug them in right away and get the questions and get the points. But I mean, just preparing and knowing your evidence a little bit better from a file system perspective is big.
I think you do something that's really smart there. I mean, not that I didn't flat out say people should, but you're looking at the authors of the CTFs and saying, what are the things that they're interested in working on? Because chances are that they're going to be using the CTF evidence as part of what they're testing and researching, right? So if anyone comes to my talk at Techno, where I talk about Chromebooks, guess what pieces of evidence we're going to be using? we're going to be using the evidence. You're going to see that same evidence. And one of the reasons is so people can play with it. You're going to see the Chromebook and take out from that, because it's a comparison of what you can get between those. That's the talk, right? And obviously, I'm using the same evidence, but it's the same thing, right? Like, almost everything that was in there is something that the authors were researching and talking about. And it's not just ones that I build. I'm sure if you're doing the Belkasoft CTF and you look at the webinars and the content they're putting out ahead of time, it's going to help you do that. Or one of the ones that Heather builds with her team over there at Celebrate, it's going to be the same situation. Because our goal in building a CTF is to help facilitate free and fun learning, right? Like, that's the whole point.
Exactly. And that's part of the reason why I play CTFs is, they're fun. I like being competitive. I mean, I grew up playing sports, so I don't get to play as many sports anymore, but now I can play digital sports.
Can we call keyboard sports? Oh, is that what CTFs are now? Are they digital sports? With the commentary, it feels like it, right? Okay.
It's a different facet of e-gaming, I guess.
And you know what? This actually is kind of funny because it makes sense. So I helped write one of the challenges for Hack Live. It wasn't the one that was selected for Colonel Con. But there's the esports thing that David from Dual Core, into 80, and his wife Marina, who is incredible. They have, I forget what it's called, but it's like an esports thing that's weekly, that's like a hacking challenge. It's a little bit more in the red team sector, but they commentate and narrate that like an esports thing for people to watch on Twitch. It's really, really cool. I'm so sorry I can't remember it. I'll drop the link when this airs. But it's really, really fun, and they do it every single week on Sundays, and they did that commentary for Hack Live, and it was so exciting and fun. But I've got to ask you, how do you play and listen to the commentary? So I'm listening to commentary and watching the results, and that's enough for me. I don't know, and I've participated in CTFs. I've taken second in 2 different DEF CON D4 CTFs. Like, I've been there. I know it's hard. I would not be able to listen to people talking about me playing while playing. How do you do that?
It's I think last year's was a little more nerve-wracking because I was getting heckled a little bit more directly.
Oh, because they knew who you were.
Because they knew who I was. So I think this year, the mystery behind a lot of it helped me calm my nerves a little bit. But I don't honestly mind it. I think it helps drown out sort of the silence. If I wouldn't have that on, I would have music or something playing. So it's something to keep me slightly off guard, I guess.
You're better than me. I can't listen to music while I work. Like, I can't. If you catch me at work, like in a lab, and I have a headset on, it's just so that people know not to disturb me. There's actually nothing on in it.
Oh, wow. I'm listening to music like 24/7. I love music.
I can't focus. My brain needs to just like be talking to me about the data I'm looking at. Yeah. I need quiet. People probably would not have expected that answer. That's so cool. So you do so much, your blog, all of your Android research. We talked a little bit about verification and validation, and I really want to point out that this really cool piece of research you did around the Google Pixel Now Playing, that you submitted it to DFIR review. I'd love to know why you chose to submit it to that and what that process was like for you.
The reason why I sort of did that research was I had a Google Pixel available to me. There's a lot of Google built-in apps in the Pixel that not many things are being parsed from them. And that was just one of the random ones that I've came across because I love music. So, that's one of the apps that's built in I was curious to see what would be on the back end. And so I originally created it as a blog post and just, let it out there. And then, I was thinking of submitting something to DFIR review, and that was the easiest one I could submit. So I submitted, and, it got approved a few months later. But the process is very simple. I was impatiently waiting, I think, at some periods of time for it to be published and or responded to, but I'm really thankful that it went through and approved.
It's really a cool I think it's cool, but I'm involved with the project. I'm going to say something kind of neat. My favorite thing that I saw that came out in the forecast nominations earlier this week was that two of the articles of the year were things that had gone through DFIR review. Heather and Matt's Bluetooth, and then Evangelos, who won last year's CTF, his post on some USB VSN serial number stuff. So I just thought that was really cool because, so people should submit to that project. So yeah,
yes, please submit. Share your research.
Share your research. Get it peer reviewed, because it's that verification and validation that makes it so much more. So what do you do when you aren't working, going to school in a graduate program, researching, writing code for open source projects, blogging? What do you do when you're not doing the DFIR stuff?
Sitting at home. No, I'm trying to get out a little bit more. I've been getting a little bit more active on the DFIR Fit stuff. So I've been trying to, now that it's actually nice and warmer outside, I've been bicycling a lot.
Nice.
Just trying to get like 5 to 6 miles a day, just around the neighborhood, just getting out and enjoying the fresh air and trying to get my fitness in. And if not that, then I've been playing a lot of Ring Fit for the Nintendo Switch. It's a fitness game, basically. So they gamify different activities and exercises. So you have this sort of circular, a ring controller that flexes, so you can do, all sorts of different exercises with it in your hands, lifting it up and down, squeezing it. It's hard to describe, but it's interesting once you actually start using it. It's like, whoa, wow, these muscles are really achy now.
That's really cool.
After doing it. So I've been playing that a lot. Other than that, I've been, people who follow me on Twitter are always seeing my beer check-ins on Untapped. So I love craft beer, and I love checking out new breweries when I can travel and go to different places. Hopefully, once things open up a little bit more, I can get more traveling in to see new places.
That's awesome. So if anybody needs beer recommendations, just check your Twitter feed or at Kevin Pagano and Pagano3, and he'll go ahead and give you some recommendations. I love that. So you talked a little bit earlier about your struggle breaking in, right? And how you did it and how you got into the field. What is your advice to other folks who are looking to get into digital forensics?
Yeah, I mean, just network is the biggest thing. Even if you're scared to meet new people, reach out to them on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on any sort of social media platform. I think I've met more people digitally in the past year or two than I have in person. And I can't wait to actually go back to conferences to actually meet them in person and get to hang out with people, because I miss interacting with, people. And I miss seeing all the different forensic family, as I say, at conferences. I would say that the other thing is just, play with tools. Take advantage of all of the free evidence and free trainings that are out there. I saw the other day that Ali Hadi launched his new website, Cyber5W.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free trainings on there that he posted and will be updating and things. D4 Diva has all her training pages as well. Just take advantage of everything that's free at the moment, or, reduce costs if you can afford it. But there's plenty of resources out there that, you can better yourself with.
Oh, that's awesome. And you're right. Cyber5W from Ali Hadi, brand new, great resource. And D4 Diva, in addition to her blog D4 Diva, she just launched that Getting Started, which actually has a section for people who are job seekers to submit their resumes, as well as organizations. So just another brand new resource for folks who are looking to get into the field. So both great mentions on both of those. And yeah, networking for people who maybe aren't used to talking to people, maybe that's been eased by the pandemic because of now the approachability on Discord and Twitter and LinkedIn and all of that. It's really, really, really good.
It's incredible to see. I mean, you just definitely take it for granted, I do want to give a shout out to Brian Moran because I feel like I've met so many people through him. I think I met you through him at OSDFCon a few years ago.
That is
met
true.
So many people. So he's been like kind of the big brother, good and bad influence on a lot of people, but for so many good reasons, meeting all sorts of different people.
I obviously have a strong affinity for Brian Moran. We've collabed before, and I love him, and he's a great person. You're right. He's one of those people who will take someone and make the effort to introduce them to other people. And he did. He introduced us at OSDFCon, but like 5 years ago.
You were just starting at Magnet, I think.
I think it was 5 years ago. I've been at Magnet 5 years next month. So, it's kind of crazy. But you're right, that networking and finding those advocates who will introduce you to other people, right? Who will help collaborate and help you build that network is just so awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on Cash Up today. Congratulations on all of your CTF wins. And thank you for all of your contributions. Your Start Meetup Forensics page, people really need to check that out. I think that's underutilized. It is really a great launching point. Huge shout out for your research in Stark Forensics as well.
Yeah, thank you. I need to get probably a short link for the Start Me page because it's a ugly URL, but I'll figure that out if I can. But yeah, that's been a really good resource, not only for myself because it's pretty much a culmination of all my bookmarks everywhere, but I keep adding to it, every week or month when I come across stuff. But I've had a lot of people reach out to me that said that it's been a good resource for them. So I'm glad.
Talk about a good cheat sheet for a CTF too. Actually, it's like a really good cheat sheet for a CTF. And thank you for all your contributions to Custom Artifact Exchange at Magnet, to A-Leap, to iLeap, to Cape. Just you're a rock star, and we appreciate you and love you. And thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. The upcoming episodes, previous episodes, you can find them all at magnetforensics.com/cashup, as well as the link to the RSS feed and playlist to see previous episodes. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye. Hi, welcome to Cash Up.